Hello, everyone. Today we have with us Joseph Skibbie, founder and director at JRS Marketing and Communications. Joseph, thank you for taking out time today and coming on the show. Really excited to have you.
Dawood, I'm anxious to talk to you and appreciate the invitation. Thank you.
Joseph, before we dive deep into what you do and try to get some knowledge bombs out of you, it would be great if you could introduce yourself and your company for our viewers.
Sure. Joe Skibby with JRS Marketing Communications. We started in late '08, having graduated with the MBA from the University of Dallas and being the face of the two prior organizations I worked with. I felt it was time to hang a shingle. I had been in small business banking in a marketing capacity early in my career, and then transitioned into public policy, where at the time, 2007, 6-7 years of career experience, I really started to see the power of digital as it related to advocacy, and took my long-term career goal of actually the long-term career goal was having a commercial in the Super Bowl. But I think now we can do better with that budget than 30 seconds of TV and then a couple million impressions. So here we are going on 14 years later, starting as a complete solopreneur opportunity, and now a team of 6 fully distributed with 12 to 15 ranging subcontractors depending upon the work environment, and a range of clients and industries from professional services, B2C, B2B, not-for-profit, and association work as well. So our passion is the marketing services and the creative and the analytics that go into it. And we enjoy working with different industries so that we can learn the different success metrics within those and provide better service to future customers.
Right. Joe, you started off as a, entrepreneur, started off your own business. But what do you think are the top 3 skills needed to be a successful entrepreneur?
Yeah, forethought is number one. Even when I started and I didn't really know what the direction the business was going in, you're always thinking about what's next and what potential pitfalls, landmines, challenges that could come up. So having the ability to look 1, 3, 5 years down the road, because markets shift on a dime today, and the services that you provide to your customers today may change due to algorithm changes, updates, industry trends, consumer sentiment. Those change on a whim. So you really have to be responsive to those needs. The ability to multitask is also something, again, having started as an entrepreneur, I was the copywriter, I was the graphic designer, I was the one building lists for media distribution, I was the one posting on social. Today, those tasks have changed into human resources, legal, insurance. So a natural curiosity maybe would be the third, and then the ability to multitask. So forethought, the ability to multitask.
No problem. So it must also be difficult to, start delegating as well. You start with doing everything yourself. And then, when you kind of are growing, you need to delegate work as well. How do you handle that?
Definitely a learned skill. That is, I think all entrepreneurs are faced with, do it my way is the right way, and not to be dictatorial, but that's how it's worked in the past. I actually read the E-Myth Revisited, which was a real pivotal book in the time of my career when I read it. I was doing everything. There wasn't enough time in the day. I wasn't able to successfully satisfy the requirements that I had to provide to my client. You can't manage, execute, and implement. You really have to break those things up. So even today, that's something I struggle with. I go through my daily calendar. I have my twice weekly meetings with my project manager, and I look at things that, should I be doing this? Is this the best use of my time? And try and route those accordingly. But delegation was not a natural skill to go with those necessary skills of entrepreneurship, but a learned behavior and something that we're still working on.
Right. How do you plan to grow from here? What does the strategy look like?
Yeah, so we're actually right in the midst of, we do an annual retreat, and that was in November. And we had some predictions and some budget and some scoped growth that we hope to achieve. But the business plan that we wrote 13 years ago, we've achieved and maximized and exceeded. So now it's a matter of how do we want to grow? And the way that we are going to grow is going to be dictated by that. Do we want to increase pricing? We've realized we're working way too hard for those dollars, for the results that we're driving internally within clients, for the team that we're growing. Or do we want to stay at a volume model where we keep prices low and look to grow through 100, 120, 150 accounts? We're on the fence on that right now. We really are. It's, why, if it's not broke, don't fix it, in terms of what's gotten us here. And then the flip of that is, can I continue to support a growing team? Right. Am I being compensated appropriately? And is the work not suffering in that environment, which is ultimately the biggest priority, so that we can continue to be in business? We don't want to start losing clients because of a decrease in value or return on spend.
Right. Fear can be an obstacle for any entrepreneur. In your experience, how did you overcome that?
Yeah, these are questions that always trip me up, because, I understand fear. I understand having fear. I almost think when I started the business, it was understanding that I pass these businesses on my commute. I've been exposed to these businesses in my networking, and I'm, quote unquote, doing it better than they are, right? So I don't look at it from is the big guy going to squash me? Is competition going to put me out of business? It's, I can do better than that guy. I can do better than that mid-sized company. Realistically, at a lower budget point, I can do better than the large-sized company. I, meaning our larger team at large. But operating in fear, I think, is an obstacle and is something that gets you in trouble. It limits agility and speed. And those are the biggest benefits of operating a small enterprise, is agility and speed, especially as we consumed a lot of content around major enterprise level marketers. And one of the biggest impacts that COVID gave them was speed. And that was a big red flag for us, because if they gain that on top of their spend and the budgets that they work with and the teams that they have, we're in real trouble competing as a boutique level company.
Right. Tell us your favorite client story.
Favorite client story. So for the true entrepreneurs out there, I'm going to start with a story of failure. And our first customer, again, I was in transition. I had relocated to the Chicago area late 2008, 12% unemployment, freshly graduated MBA, ready to conquer the world, but no takers in terms of giving me a pathway to do that. So in networking, I came up with a fitness professional, and actually her energy and excitement around her product was really infectious. So I got excited. We positioned, after multiple coffee meetings and multiple price negotiation meetings, on giving her a website with some content support. Put it to the designers, brought in a project that we could all be proud of. And the edits that came back were basically a kindergarten level Word document with 5 different fonts and 8 different colors. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, we can't put this out. A, put our name on a project that looks like that, and B, it's obviously not best practice for your interests. And then the relationship went south after that. We hadn't learned how to tactfully approach creative differences at that point. So a great learning lesson and a wonderful initial stumble, truly at the basement of the economic recession at that point, and starting with a failure. There was nowhere to go from. there but up. So that's been our experience.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great opportunity.
What does your SEO process look like?
Yeah, so we position the basics and the foundational things of meta descriptions, keyword phraseology selection, interlinking. But there's over 200 factors, right? So there's no unique recipe for each client. Once we satisfy the on-page requirements for our Google overlord that we all serve in this industry, then you really start to look at unique content opportunities. Not only link building, but then the traditional PR outreach where we're using tools like Cision to build those media relationships, influencer interviews, podcast opportunities, earned media. And then we also manage social media as part of our SEO plans. And again, social with a business goal in mind. You could have the biggest organic social audience of all of our customers and not drive a single penny. So our SEO transitions into online lead generation, really trying to satisfy the desired conversion action and trying to, again, obligate those customers through reciprocity for the form fill, the schedule, the purchase, or the phone call.
Right. Trying to rank for rich answers like snippets has a lot of value. How do you strategize for it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the evolution of the FAQ page, right? And optimizing for the questions that someone would have as they're in market for your product or service. The proof is always in the pudding early on. And, like the axe sharpening, right? If I'm going to cut down a cherry tree in 6 hours, I'm going to spend 5 hours sharpening my axe. So really understanding, again, not having a particular industry that we serve. It's exposition interviews with the clients, potentially small focus groups working with their primary client personas or their ideal customers, and understanding what those queries may look like, and then making sure that the answers or the content that we provide from within that are best in class. They can be potentially the desired content to be served in those panels.
Right. How do you plan, structure, and promote your blogs for traffic? Best practices for creating an editorial calendar.
Yeah. So again, it's kind of a framework that gets tweaked by industry. So we'll start out with a blog post. And again, trying to understand, are we early in the funnel? Are we late in the funnel? How is that piece slated for the progression? Is it just a complete awareness piece where we don't have to get into depth? Is it a entertainment option where it's a very short sales cycle, or is it a manufacturer's rep for commercial handling equipment where it's much longer? The content that needs to be created in terms of communicating that solution is longer as well. Once you identify that, then making sure that it is the best in class piece of content. Not only interlinks, but the appropriate homework, the correct commercial links, and then starting with those entities for the media outreach opportunities, looking for earned media, and then ways to place native content and paid opportunities to get that content distributed, augmented through both organic and paid social. The distribution, again, it's not the most important part, but the greatest article on earth sits there unviewed if you don't get the distribution right. So that is an area that differentiates our effort from some of our competitors, is to be able to get the message seen.
Right. Joe, how have you seen link building change over the years?
Link building has always been the unknown entity, right? John Mueller for the longest time would or wouldn't confirm that it was links, and then it wasn't links, and now it continues to be links. I think there are still people that manipulate that process and drive questionable links and questionable resources to connect with those links. But again, for ethical, for white hat SEOs, the ability to connect is no different than relationship building, no different than content marketing 100 years ago, right? Is marketing remains very similar to where it's been historically. The data, the ability to pulse check at a moment's notice, and the outreach opportunities and media tools available are what's changed. And that allows link builders in particular to be more effective.
Right, right. How do you see the role of AI in digital marketing?
Yeah, interesting story. Another kind of fail opportunity here is we were working with a client who, a computer software development firm, firmly entrenched in the belief that, or the terminology and understanding that theirs was an artificial intelligence tool. We were able to secure an interview with a Forbes tech writer, something we were very proud of. And then the tech writer just basically shredded their product and said, no, this is a business intelligence tool. Artificial intelligence takes the information and does something with it. This is a dashboard that presents information. So I think from the vein of that experience, I would look at artificial intelligence in a people-driven marketing activity. We're always talking about authentic stories. We're always talking about connecting with relationships. I don't know that artificial intelligence has found a way to do that. With that caveat, that artificial intelligence can take the data points driven by those stories and then do something with that information. So, with the forethought of an entrepreneur and the 3 to 5 year horizon, we're always like, is artificial intelligence going to replace our digital agency? Are we going to be necessary in the future? I think there will always be the human component and element that won't be replaced, but maybe smaller teams being more efficient through the use of artificial intelligence.
Right, right. So videos are gaining popularity. What are the best practices to create a persuasive video that prompts action?
Yeah, great question. And the statistics around video consumption in particular are just mind-numbing. And you have to look at my media consumption as a mid-40s, my kids' media consumption in the preteen era, and then digital natives being born now that don't really know what a magazine is. They only know how to swipe on a tablet or smartphone. It gets harder and harder to break through that clutter. It wouldn't be a marketing presentation without mentioning the 6-second human attention span. So as we look at where video fits in length and duration and what we need to communicate within that time, and potentially a 6-second window before you have to transition, not everybody, depending upon your client persona and who you're trying to message, is going to consume seizure-inducing level content that's constantly and rapidly changing, communicating at a bullet pace. So we always are advising, if it's 3 sentences or a 5-sentence paragraph, it should be a video. If it's on social, it's got to have some level of motion, whether it's animated GIFs, motion graphics, or outright video. So being able to communicate that information, again, from a wide range of clients and industries to a consumable snippet that your prospect will remember is a challenge in every client engagement that we face. And to be able to do that succinctly is kind of an industry by industry experience.
Right, right. What are the main prerequisites to ensure a successful email marketing campaign?
Yeah, a good list, a good subject line, potentially video early above the fold, good design. Yeah, it's always a question of chicken or egg. If the message is readable, great, but did it get distributed to people? Is the list of quality? And then are they opening it or are they engaging with it is the next level question. And then how are you tracking that? Is it through the UTM code and campaign analytics within Google? Is it just the individual reporting for the distribution tool that you're using? Or are you steering that video traffic through to a YouTube channel or something else where you can count that engagement? All of that is strategic. All of that is things that can be measured as we as marketers understand. But explaining those things to the client who's just like, send out my holiday message is a challenge that we all face. So.
Right. And also, particularly in B2B, personalized emails are actually doing very well. We did a test recently where, there was a campaign which was kind of a general campaign versus a personalized one. And, I was amazed to see that, people actually open emails. I mean, at least, like in the US, I mean, like people opening emails and reading SMSs is like more than the responses you get on cold calls. So I think it also depends on your target market and the persona. But I think when you talk about emails, like you said, videos, similarly, like personalized emails actually get better numbers as compared to like the generic ones.
Yeah, every marketing expo, conference, seminar we've been to, email marketing is still the least expensive and the most effective potentially. 3 to 5% click through rate, 5 to 10% ad open rate versus 15 to 20% email open rates, and with personalization driving that higher again depending upon your industry. But again, that personalization can drive back to the list quality. And, do you have emails? Do you have emails in name, address, phone, all those things that can allow for the automation to go into text messaging and other things that factual, it has a measured impact on the conversion rate of campaigns as you combine those factors. And it's an uptick every way. Message frequency, is it an email that's sent once? Is it sent monthly? Is it sent quarterly? What's the follow-up for those people that have opened it? What's the follow-up for those people from a sales activity that have opened your last 3? So overwhelming amount of data. Again, for a lot of businesses that don't have the internal infrastructure to handle that, gives us an opportunity, as it does other marketers, to take advantage of.
Right. Talking about paid campaigns, is there any particular PPC platform that is providing the best results to increase sales?
So admittedly, we are in Google Ads, Brandzuka, and the social platforms themselves. So the social platform on Facebook, Instagram in particular, has skyrocketed in terms of cost per click since COVID, and especially domestically as we look at the economy being flooded with resources from the PPP and idle funding from the government. Brandzuka, again, a programmatic web and app-based banner ad advertisement platform, has given us a significant decrease in those cost per clicks. And then Google Ads, again, is enough of a dashboard for us to get the information we need in terms of efficacy and then reallocating budgets accordingly.
Right. Any special advice that you would like to give our audience that they could use and gain benefits from?
Yeah, so we do quite a bit of presentations to entrepreneurs and startups and small and mid-sized businesses. We can't hammer home the point enough to start with strategy. It's if I had a nickel for every client who said, I tried to boost an ad once and it didn't work, that's not going to work. If you don't understand why you're taking on a marketing activity and you can't tie it back to a funnel or a content strategy or a search engine goal or search engine optimization goal, then you're missing the point. All the marketing activity in the world in a scattershot fashion without a dedicated strategy isn't going to be impactful and could potentially be detrimental, especially on digital, where if your name, address, and phone isn't consistent, you're not going to be getting the +1 of that additional profile. If your description, bit short and long form business description aren't accurate, if your meta descriptions aren't reflective of the page, if the content that you're creating doesn't incorporate the appropriate keyword, it just builds and builds and builds. And, we used to work for a Chicagoland engineering association, and they would do electric and electronic engineering testing. So, save money on the front end, have your plan, test early, and then, companies that are coming to us with 5 years of prior vendor experience that weren't working towards a dedicated marketing strategy take a significant amount of resources to clean that up and get on the right path. So start with a strategy would be the one and only most important tactic that I would recommend for anyone listening here.
Right. Joseph, in the end, I like playing a quick rapid fire round of, 4 to 5 questions. So don't take time, just,
I'm ready. Yeah.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
Describe your style in one word.
Classic.
One subject you would like to learn more about.
Gardening.
What is your go-to lazy dinner?
Egg and American cheese tortillas.
A night in or a night out?
Oh, I'm a night out. Yeah.
What is your last Google search?
Percentage of millennial workforce in 2025. fact checking a discussion I had at lunch yesterday.
Well, Joe, thank you so much for your time. It was fun having you.
Dawood, I really appreciate it. That last bit really got me thinking quickly. So thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, man. Take care.
All right. Appreciate you. Thank you.